Speaking
Moistly.
moistly. Keep
Keep
2 meters
apart.
apart.
Speaking moistly. Welcome everyone to
Um,
Speaking Moistly with me as usual on a Tuesday. Greg, sir, happy Thanksgiving. How you doing?
I'm doing as good as one could do. I am
Indeed.
building the pieces to my home gym. I'm collecting weight and bench presses, and I'm excited about that.
Nice.
But yeah, otherwise it's doing what I can. How about you? How was your Thanksgiving weekend?
It was good. It was good. We hung out with my family. We usually have like a meal on Saturdays with my family who live very close to me. And so like it was a few more people than our usual Saturday meal, but it was like normal. So it was good. And everybody had lots of fun and ate too much turkey. I have eaten more pie in the last like 4 days than I've eaten in the last probably 4 years. Why? If society collapses, I'm not going to regret not eating the pie. Like I've seen the supply chain issues.
That's awesome.
More honestly,
And so how are you enforcing how are you enforcing the vax passports at dinner?
Oh, there was no.
Did you enforce them or no?
No, nobody was at. No, I don't think anybody asked. But there was dinner conversation was stifled a little bit when somebody said to somebody else, well, you need a vax pass to go there. And somebody was like, well, I'm fully vaccinated. And like the whole table was like, okay, nobody said anything. And it was just kind of funny. Like I thought it was like, because I mean, I have an outlet to say what I think about things. So I don't need to like browbeat people into it. I'm a firm believer in you can do whatever you want to do, and I'm going to do whatever I want to do and live and let live. But yeah, it was a really interesting kind of the air got sucked out of the room by that comment, and I thought it was very funny. So, and it was like I was grinning and like looking around at other people who I thought might find it funny, but nobody was grinning with me, and I was like, oh, man, I've misread the room.
Yeah, it's I know to avoid the topic now with my own family, and there's a few times it kind of like comes up undoubtedly.
It came up organically.
It's always it's very uncomfortable because I'm pretty playful with it. I'll ask like a question or two, or say some like snide remark, some smart aleck remark, and it's just really creepy because I find that people are just kind of want to ignore what's happening, like really what's happening. They just think, well, if we just keep following the rules and things are normal now. And it's like you're telling me about how you went out for a drink and how you got your you got checked for your vax pass, and it's like that's not normal. That's like that's a new normal. So you're agreeing to a new normal. So
I feel like we're missing. I feel like me personally, I'm missing out on opportunities to be going to a real life speakeasy, right? To go to an illegal bar or an illegal rave. I'm missing out on this. That's okay. I'm all right with that. Do you know the story of Billy Bixby's dragon?
No.
Okay, Billy Bixby and his dragon. So Billy Bixby, and this is a Jordan Peterson-ism, but Billy Bixby and his mom. Okay. So Billy Bixby came down the stairs one day and told his mom, I've got a dragon here. And his mom was like, no, you don't. Like, don't be silly. There's no dragon there. And the dragon was like the size of a cat. And then as they ignore the dragon gets bigger and bigger and bigger. It doesn't just go away the more you ignore it. The dragon just gets big. And it gets so big that it like engulfs the house, and the house is like being carried around on the back of the dragon. And at this point, the mother has to admit that, maybe there is a problem here, maybe, right? So it's not just the COVID thing that this is it's like your mom and dad. Your mom squeezed the toothpaste for 40 years and your dad is just, this is it. Today's the day, like breaking point. Like, what's it going to take, right? And who knows, right? And we're all in that situation right now. We are all desperately ignoring Billy Bixby and his dragon. And what are you going to do, right? And nobody, because confronting the dragon, facing the dragon, means you have to realize that you've let this dragon get big enough to like lock down all your businesses, bankrupt you, shut down all your ports,
Yep.
And destroy your economy. And did I miss anything? The dragon's running around with the house on his back.
Yeah. I think a dragon just flew over my house. No, I think that the breaking point is going to be different for everybody, and a scary aspect of this is that there is, and this is kind of part of the plan. I think there's going to be a population of people that never have to confront the breaking point. They're so insulated. They'll be so insulated with the mainstream narrative, and look how far we've come in that sort of insulated environment where it's all normal. Everything going on is it's because of a pen. It's because of a bat soup. It's because of a whatever. And now we're doing this because it's all justified, right? Like it all gets justified with these little bricks that are like, made of nothing seemingly, but it's real to these people. And, it's kind of, what's a good analogy? Maybe like a messy kitchen or a messy room is a good example. It doesn't go from being clean to being messy. It goes one little bit by bit, it builds up bit by bit, and then you turn around and it's a huge mess.
Yep.
But I guess for these people, they I don't know. It's tricky because there's these bricks that they're building to build up the reality. They're very real bricks to them, even though they're kind of don't really make any sense,
flimsy,
and it's the whole inside the matrix thing. Like you can't just simply unplug from the matrix. It's not that easy.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's going to be different for everyone. And I think I've described, people are asking how my Thanksgiving was, and I tell them it's very creepy. Like it's very creepy because I see my own family members and friends, some of them just kind of being like, we're not going to talk about that. We're not going to act like that's a thing that's happening. Okay. Can we just enjoy our dinner? And it's like, this is okay. So we're just ignore the dragon at the front door. Okay,
that's exactly what it is.
Cool. Nothing creepy about that. Yeah.
My dad and I, usually I'll take the kids swimming, and it's the highlight of my dad's day in the summertime when the kids come over swimming. And so we hang out and we talk politics and we talk Joe Biden and we talk Trump and, what's going on. And we talk Vax Pass and, all sorts of things that we're probably not allowed to talk about these days. So
fun times.
Yeah. So it's a lot of fun. And we get, the kids get to play in the pool and we get to talk about things. He likes to read war books. Like he likes to read spy books about the Second World War. And I'm like, Dad, you're living in one right now. Like, pay attention, man. He's like, oh, okay, whatever. So he doesn't care that much, but he likes to hear the story. So I tell him kind of like loosely what's going on. And then he does research and he's like, did you hear this? I'm like, no, that's not true.
That's not real. Yeah.
Yeah. So at some point we were sitting at family dinner on Saturday and my dad pipes up. He's like, oh, what about Trump? Blah, blah, blah. And my mom's like, I don't think so. And then everybody was like, no, we're not talking about Trump. I'm like, oh, he's fine. Like, let him, we can tell a story about Trump. And, it was fine. But I thought that it's the same thing. It's this poisoning of the well. Like, you're not even allowed to discuss, like, even if Trump did, like, oh, did Trump declare peace in the Middle East? Well, actually, like, hold on a sec, let's talk about that. And, that's not even good enough, right? Like,
there was a really weird moment, and I won't go into the specifics, but essentially politics had come up and a female in my family was like, yeah, well, I just know that, I would never support, someone who's trying to go backwards, like on abortion or whatever, like how dare they try to like be pro-life or something like this. And like, the woman's right to choose. And I'm like, right to choose. I'm like, what about these jab mandates where a bunch of people don't have the right to choose what to do with their body?
Yeah.
And the response was, well, this is going after someone's whose specific sex, a specific sex that they're going after. And I said, well, but this is going after like the entire country, like every citizen in the country.
She was
pro right to choose.
So she was pro sex selective murder of children, like murder of preborn people?
It was this allusion to this like hysteria that's happening with left-wing people because there's something happening in the States where like certain states are basically banning abortion, I think. And I think it's gotten picked up by people in Canada because so much of the liberal zeitgeist that exists in the States and that exists in Canada is making this false caricature of conservatives as these like evil backwards people who like want to like lock women in the kitchen and like they want to like terrorize gay people. And so I really feel like that's so much of like the support of Justin Trudeau and Biden are based on this like false caricature, this like straw man of what a conservative is. And it's been working so well for a while. Where like, they don't have to talk about policies. They just have to continue to be like, oh, you know how backwards these people are, right? Yeah, they literally want to kill you. They hate you. And it's just like, wow, it's really working out.
Well, all you have to do is get the pitchfork guys to turn on the torch guys, like the guys carrying the torches versus rather than I was going to say
I just think it's sad. Sorry to cut you off again, but I just think it's sad that these people have like 3 buttons and you just go boop, boop, boop. And it's like, I will do what you ask. And it's like, wow. Like, that's pretty sad.
to get back to the abortion thing, there was a motion in the House of Commons, I think put forward by a Conservative member, to limit sex selection abortions. So basically the idea was you can't end a preborn person's life if they happen to be the wrong sex, says the ultrasound. So a lot of places will do that to a female child because the preference is for a male child. And so they wanted to deal with that by banning that practice. So like if you're pregnant and the only reason that you want to end the pregnancy is for sex selection, that's not allowed. Of course, there are a whole bunch of other reasons that you can, but that's aside, right? So, and the Liberals didn't want to vote for that. So that's, I mean, I just think it's interesting how that's been turned into a moral standpoint. Like that's the moral position because of women's right to choose. It's like, wow, that's weird.
I'm just tired of there being no nuance on any topic anymore. And like how these people continue to take the moral high ground on social media or like in these like little petty conversations, these shallow, like small talk conversations. And it's like, you don't even want to actually talk about anything. You just want to grandstand. Like it's
but that's
over it.
But
like,
it's not just, so, it's like, not, but that's not real people. It's
so disgusting.
That's not real people. That's bots a lot. And they're training people what to do. They're training people to, well, I mean, they're breaking the law on TikTok.
It's not just bots, man. It's not just bots.
But the bots train them.
You will meet these people IRL in real life.
Yeah. I saw a doctor tweeting today, actually, about advising mature minors, which I don't know if this is a legally dicey thing. Anyway, the doctor was telling.
Wait, where does this term come from? Anyway,
it's new. Anyway, I can explain it, and it'll just take a minute though. But the doctor was talking to this teenager child and he was advising the child to lie to his parents about getting the vaccine because his parents were against the vaccine. And so, but the mature minor doctrine comes from, and it is a legal framework, comes from the situation where the state is the parent. So if you're in a foster care situation where the state is taking care of you, if you're 16, they'll set you up in a situation where you're living alone and you're like more autonomous and able to take care of yourself, and you check in with a worker every 5 or 6 days or whatever it is. And that's not everybody, right? But there are more people in need than houses or families to go around, right? Which is a terrible state, but there is a legal kind of a quasi-legal anyway framework as far as I understand it. But it was created for those type of situations, not to do an end run around parental rights. And that's a scary thing.
Because it's now being exploited that way to essentially hashtag child abuse or something.
Or something.
Well, what are they using to justify that? They're saying that the parents are unfit because, like, in the scenario that you're talking about for foster care, like, what about a kid who isn't in foster care and they're just living with their parents and the parents don't want them to get the jab?
They're saying that the person giving the jab gets to do a screening and does screening questions. And if the person giving the jab believes that the young person, the not adult, is capable, then they are deemed capable by that person, and the person gives them the jab.
This is from some months ago now, right?
It
was like if they're deemed of sound mind and whatever. This is kind of an adjacent parallel thing, very similar to, you know, not protecting kids, or kind of like saying, hey, kids can whatever the kid feels is right. I have a friend who is a doctor, a pediatrician is her focus. That's right. Kids, right? Pediatrician. Did I get that right?
Pediatrics. Yeah.
And I asked them about trans kids, transgender kids, because this is a popping off trend and all this. And this doctor actually said, like, well, we kind of judge based on like how confident they are, basically. Like that was basically sort of like the takeaway, which was like, well, you know, some of these kids are really like into it, or like they're really convincing of like how passionate they are. Like it really seems like they're of sound mind, was basically. So I'm like, okay, so no science whatsoever. It's just kind of like, I feel like I can trust them, bro, I guess. And I found that, you know, we're messing with they're kids for a reason, you know. Call me old fashioned,
okay. But here's where we're at in Canadian healthcare quasi legal states. If you have not passed puberty yet, you can define yourself as any gender you like. If you're 12 to 18, you can decide that you are a mature minor and can take an experimental gene therapy against your parents' wishes. But
is that across the country?
But you can't get an exemption. You can't get an exemption for the experimental gene therapy if you don't want to take it. And if you want to participate in society, you have to take this jab. Seems really weird, doesn't it? And like they say, is that across the country? The being able to get gene therapy, being able to get hormone therapy when you're over 12 against the will of your parents. In BC, they've set legal precedents in BC.
Right. Okay. Because like my understanding was it was just in BC as well. I didn't. Okay.
But that extrapolates across Canada. If you got into a legal fight in Ontario, you better believe a half competent lawyer would say this is already settled. Like I don't even want the case. This is settled. Like
I'm not trying to be offensive to any of our listeners or viewers that are in BC, but like this is kind of a stereotype. Is it true? Is everyone just stoned in BC? Is everyone just like high? Is that why they're so like painful?
I'm a very, very productive person. I use marijuana. There's nothing wrong.
Yeah, I'm not trying to offend anybody, but
I'm offended.
You know,
no.
if
on behalf
20
of BC,
people get high in marijuana, if 20 people get high in marijuana, Mark, you are going to be the one guy who's actually productive, and the other 19, I don't know.
I have eaten a lot of pie, so. But that's the only difference. So the supply chain, have you been paying attention to the supply chain issues and the Let's Go Brandon chants and the Southwestern airline pilots?
Can you actually educate me on Let's Go Brandon? Because I've been seeing that meme and I actually don't know what it is.
Let's go Brandon. So there was an interview happening with a NASCAR guy. I think it was NASCAR, and they're right behind the interview. So the woman was interviewing the NASCAR guy, and he's like, "Oh, you know, we can do so much better, y'all." Blah 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 blah. And then in the background, you could hear "F Joe Biden." They're going "F Joe Biden," and then the interviewer goes, "Oh, okay, let's go, Brandon." You hear the crowd chanting, and she tried to recover the interview, but you could hear it so clear. Like there was a rapper who did a song. I tweeted it out called "Let's Go Brandon," and he's like, you know what they're saying, and you could hear it, "Fuck Joe Biden," right? And so this rapper did this 2-minute long rap with that as the backing track.
Nice.
I was like, this is wild. I can't believe "Let's Go Brandon" is like, you know, from chants in stadiums to a national hashtag to like a ridiculous, like this is going to be on top 10 lists at the end of the year. Like, let's go, Brandon.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. That's like a huge dog whistle for "Fuck Joe Biden." Wow.
Yeah, it's massive, and it's so fun. Like it's so funny.
Meme culture is so powerful.
The left can't meme because the left is so buttoned up. They're like, oh, nobody would say that, and then they're like, oh, whatever they think is funny it's just like terrifying.
I mean, and it always comes back to the painful, just obnoxious double standard they have, right? where our leftists will say, oh, I can't believe they would say fuck Joe Biden, and then you look back in their tweets and it's like, I'm gonna kill Trump. Yeah. You know, it's like the most vitriolic like statement you could make about somebody, the most hateful sort of comment.
Yes. And like, even if they're just vaguely tied, like it doesn't even have to be against Trump. Like it could be against somebody who's vaguely tied or supporting Trump, and like the person's you know, all your friends want you dead, and you're like, huh, that's weird.
Huh. Like, yeah. Love is love. Okay.
Huh.
Okay.
Like those, peace, we take the high road.
We will overcome. Okay. I have not been hearing much about specific supply chain stuff. I saw this interesting clip on TikTok of this farmer talking about how a lot of family farms are being bought up, and it's pretty ugly.
I saw that video.
However, I've talked to another farmer who I know in Canada, who has said this has kind of been happening slowly but surely for the past 20 years.
By like corporate farms being bought up, et cetera?
Like, family farms being bought up by like mega farms. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, but like the mega farm is like a family farm. Like, but yeah, I hear what you're saying. That is true. It's incentivized, but like I live in Guelph, so we've got a lot of producing fields around here and stuff.
For sure.
So I've been driving around. They're active as they normally are here. I haven't seen any evidence of like crops being destroyed for any of. In fact, a couple of years ago, I heard about like 1,500 swine having to be culled because of a disease that got out in the barn. So you know, like, you know, I've heard about situations like that, but you know, you barely even see a price fluctuation from things like that these days. So you know, that's interesting. But like, it's the supply chain is more about the goods being imported and not being offloaded in the shipping containers and the shipping yards and stuff. And then so they're saying it's a trucker shortage, which is what they're saying in the UK. I don't know that Canada is as impacted as the US, but I think it's going to get worse as time goes on, because like I did a little 4-part like 4 tabs on it on my show this morning, talking about the supply chain disruption. And there was one guy at one of the ports in Tacoma, Washington, and he was saying, you know, 7 cranes aren't operating today, but there's all these ships backed up out to sea waiting to unload. Nothing happening. He was showing all the trucks that were just sitting there. And then another guy talking about out at sea, and he was saying like all of these ships are just waiting to unload their cargo. They're just sitting here. He's like, and he was showing video of what he was witnessing, and it was like cargo ship after cargo ship after cargo ship. So like, I don't know what's going on, but it seems a lot like what's happening with the nurses, like the manufactured crisis that they're manufacturing with the nurses. So yeah, all of that, it just seems, it's like, man, it's a crazy world.
Yeah, I was talking to a friend today, and he's somebody who has a similar kind of political mind to me, but he's also not trying, you know, he doesn't want to see what's in front of him. Like, yeah, it doesn't really make any sense. And I told him, you know, if you just look through everything happening through a very, very dark lens and just presume, or like, let's do a scenario. Let's do like a thought exercise. Let's do this exercise that it really is about these, you know, money hungry, control hungry people who don't really care if we die. And it's all just about control. And quite frankly, maybe part of the intention is killing us.
I was going to say, I don't think they're neutral on our death. I think they have.
Yeah. But my point to him was, it's like, don't things start to make a whole lot more sense when you kind of look through it through that lens? Like everything starts to make sense when you look at it through that very, very, very dark lens.
Yeah.
And, you know, it makes sense why, I mean, where should we begin? They don't talk about early treatment of this thing that's like taking over the world. They have absolutely no honesty about the virus itself and who it actually affects and who's actually vulnerable and who's actually not. And they're content at just terrifying the crap out of everybody. And once again, we're in a pandemic, but yet we're firing nurses, and like, it's just like this,
Yeah, man. I know.
Well, I'm preaching to the choir here, but it's, you know.
No, I know. But the thing is, part of the difficulty is when you talk to people about that kind of stuff, they glaze over. I showed Alex Jones on my show the other day because I referenced Alex Jones. So he did a documentary talking about exactly what you're talking about, showing a lot of clips that I'd seen that have been memory hold from the internet, meaning like it's doctors who have spoken out, doctors who held press conferences saying, we're doing this approach totally wrong. Like in March of 2020 type deal, like the end of March, after the 2 weeks to flatten the curve, they were saying, like, we can't continue. This is madness. This is absolute madness what we're doing. Mm-hmm. All of that kind of stuff. But I said, the problem is they didn't get like Matt Damon to narrate it. It's Alex Jones. And I said, you can't just you can't tell somebody who's heard the name Alex Jones, but doesn't understand what's kind of going on, I guess. You can't get them to see past it. So it's kind of a moot point. They should have got Matt Damon to narrate it. But, and then I showed this Alex Jones clip where he talks about intergalactic space beings, like using humans to travel and how it's a takeover of these space beings. And then he says Hillary Clinton is a demon at the end. And I'm like, and you're just like, I was like, man, this is the perfect clip to illustrate just how crazy, like, and not crazy Alex Jones is, but like, he presents it in such a way that it's just like, he believes it fully. And he's like, he thinks it's like, it's as obvious as I'm holding this pen. He's like, it's right. They're demons and they're intergalactic aliens. And this is a war we're in. Holy cow, Hillary Clinton's a demon. You can't get past that, man. It's just, and so it's hard to tell somebody who's not been paying attention what's going on, because it all sounds like Alex Jones to them.
Right. And in a way, sometimes he does himself a disservice, because it's like, I'm with you. I lost you.
Yeah. It's like you're riding down a highway and you've got your head out the window and it's fun. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh no. And then your face flies off.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's a bad analogy.
No, but I mean, I think it was Michael Malice. I don't know if you know this guy, but he's a political commentator of some kind. But, he talks about how, these people who are asleep, these people who are kind of brainwashed or whatever. So I know people who get really caught up of like how brainwashed they are. And he's like, why waste your time? They're like trees. They're like trees in a forest. Like, just keep walking by the tree. Like they're inconsequential to what's going on. They're just staying there. They're not doing anything. They're just kind of like,
well, but sometimes they become Agent Smiths, right? Sometimes they're gonna, if you threaten, if they happen to be like a museum director and you're trying to walk and enjoy the museum, and they're like, you got to get your mask on there, buddy. You're like, whoa, man, I'm just trying to enjoy the museum.
That's true. However, I guess I'm speaking more to the people who get hung up on people being
I'm trying to like change. I've got a lot of people telling me that they have a hard time with how cruel and how mean their former friends or their family members are. And like I tell them about the Agent Smith effect, and like, this is a tweet I sent out yesterday. I said, you're not really talking to your mom or your dad, your close family member. You are talking to the Agent Smith who's protecting their kind of inner soft underbelly from being exposed to the horrible truth that if you're right, that would represent, right? And so
the good analogy.
I'm
going to take that one. I like that.
Well, I think, because you're not actually, it's like talking to somebody who believes in climate change about climate change. You're not going to like everything you say, it's like Chinese propaganda, right? Like they're already programmed to, like, the more you say, I'm not racist, the more the critical race theorists.
What cases? What need to take the jab? What? That's the only way to get out. Go back to normal. What?
Which is funny, because there's no like first, there's no timeline, and second, there's no, this is an example of everybody going back to normal from 100% jabbed. Yay! It's like the government is putting down like crushing restrictions. You will lose your job if you don't comply with this. How dare you? And like, that's really it. It's not like you're going to die because you get COVID. It's going to be like, if you don't effing do this, you're going to lose your job, you maggot. And it's like, well, hold on a second.
Yeah. This is supposed to be about health, guys. This is supposed to be about health. Remember that? Yeah. It's insane. Yeah, I'm so over the mask thing. I've just stopped wearing them completely.
Yeah. Good.
And I was over it last year. I was at a gas station, and the clerk was like probably younger than me, and she's like, can you put a mask on, like there's other people? And I'm like, I don't have one. And she's like, well, I have one here for you, if you could please put that on, please. And then I actually just put it around my chin, and then I like paid, and like she was so pissed. She was so pissed. And I love doing the chin thing, because they have to then confront how dumb it is, and how like they're too cowardly to be like, can you put it over your nose? You know, I don't know. I think it's pretty interesting, because it's like, here, do you want me to participate in your charade? There.
Yeah, it's unfortunate though that so many people are taken by the charade. Like that's
it is sad. Are you kidding me? It is so sad.
It's
and the
hard
fact I made a video recently on my YouTube about the trust the experts, and how it's just traumatizing children. Like the fact that kids are so involved and being forced to participate in the mask wearing and all of this, and like hysteria is like the worst part about it. It's like, this is really going to be, we're going to groom an entire generation of like traumatized hypochondriacs.
Already happened.
And actually, since we're back on the kid thing, I was talking to somebody else who I think is from Albania, if I'm not mistaken. That's in Europe, right?
Yeah.
And I get Algeria and Albania mixed up sometimes. But he was talking about, well, he's like, Greg, what I'm most worried about is the 15-year-olds today. And the 15-year-olds today who are really being groomed in a certain way. And by the time they're 19 and they join the workforce and they, become cops or become whatever, like they're going to, like, by that time, by imagine another 4 years of propaganda to the point where it's like, the unvaccinated must be taken down. Like, that's kind of what we really need to look out for, right?
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's coming.
It's just the beginning, folks.
Right. And the funny thing is, they're going to try and drive wedges between husbands and wives, because some husbands see things differently and they won't do it. Some wives see things differently and they won't get vaxxed. And so they'll start putting pressure on, this is okay. We'll wrap up with this, right? You did a TikTok video talking about what's coming. So like, that's basically what we're talking about now. So they'll start driving a wedge between husbands and wives. I think they'll open up an isolation site. So like, if you phone this number, we'll send police to pick up your unvaccinated relative who's reluctant to go. And all you have to do is just agree that you'll let us take him or them. Right. And then you put a bunch of media out, you make crushing edicts about if you have an unvaccinated person in the house, or if an unvaccinated person is, renting a place in your house or something like that, you're done. You can't do anything. You're treated just the way the unvaccinated person's treated, as like infected until proven not infected. And that's that. They lock us down. Just like that.
Yeah. It's all for your safety, yeah. It's all be for your health and safety. Be a good little, It's totally twisted, twisted.
And the funny thing is, we're not that we're not doing anything, but Canadians are just like, we'll see what's happened. We'll see what happens next. We'll see where we're at in a couple of months. I'm like, do you remember saying that 6 months ago? And things aren't so bad now. Yeah, they're not so bad now.
Yeah. It's bad. It's
pretty bad.
It's pretty bad. I've been thinking a lot about what is the opposite of demoralization. That's what I've been asking myself.
Unity.
No, it's more than that. Unity is part of it, but it's more than that. And because I really think it's not about me. It's not about you. It's about really helping people, become whatever the opposite of demoralized is. And like to grow in numbers, and like, because I think what people like us should be focused on is, how do we get the next wave of people right on board with us when the next push comes to shove? And when I mean the next push comes to shove, I mean when the boosters get mandated, because that's going to have another wave of people who are like, I'm out, I don't like this, I'm done. And maybe it's not going to be that many people, but like the point is like, how can we start to kind of be proactive about that inevitability that's coming down the pipe?
We have to build a funnel. We have to have a way for people to do something that is reasonable and easy enough that they'll do it. We have to have a catchment made up, a way to identify them, and a way to catch them, a catchment.
Oh, okay.
Cool. If we find a few keywords that they're searching for here or there, whatever, then you put up a landing page and say,
For
you know,
sure.
if you think this. So it's hard, man. It's hard though, because the organizational infrastructure is not there and it's difficult to build. I have to go pick up my kids at the bus. So I think this was a longer conversation than I anticipated, but it's been fun, man. It's been very, we talked about a lot and we didn't really have much of a plan going into it. So it's been fun though. So final words. Where can
Thanks for having me. Find me on my YouTube channel, which is Greg Wycliffe in the description. I've posted a couple of newer videos if you haven't seen them. I'm also on Twitter and TikTok at GWDDUB. Thanks for having me, Mark.
Yeah, man. It's always a pleasure. And you can find me at CanadaPoly.com, CanadaReport.co, and SpeakingWisely.co for mine and Greg's back catalog and all of that other fun stuff. And well, thanks for watching today. And I'll be back again. I've got an interview with Chelsea Hillier this week. I've got lots and lots of stuff going on. So stay tuned. And thanks for watching.